This is Smile Business Diaries, a DSD podcast. Welcome to another episode of Smile Business Diaries. This time, it's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Ramin Tabib. In our conversation, he talks about how having a small clinic can be a good thing, how humor can deepen your connection with your patient, and how Fridays are for dancing. Now, let's jump right in. All right. So we have Dr. Ramin Tabib, a leading dentist in New York City, prioritizes delivering top-notch dental care, specializing in advanced techniques and technology for achieving optimal oral health and beautiful smiles. With a DDS degree from Columbia University and extensive training in dental implants and neuromuscular dentistry, he's earned a fellowship status in the International Congress of Oral Implantology. Committed to patient education and integration into his practice, he fosters a culture of excellence and innovation. Beyond dentistry, Dr. Tabib's diverse interests include his role as a resident DJ, contributing to a welcoming atmosphere in his office. Welcome, Dr. Tabib. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Maria?
Amazing. It's wonderful to have you here. You are definitely an inspiration, I think, not in dentistry, but in the world. You know, if anyone follows you, they know you are quite the character. You've got a lot under your belt as far as life and dental excellence and just being in the heart of the States in New York City as well. You've got, I'm sure, a great story to tell us. And so I want to welcome you.
Have it all put together. I am a definition of excellence.
Exactly. No issues at all. You're just
None whatsoever.
the poster child, right?
That's right.
So please share with us your story, how you got to where you are today, and really how you can just deliver some information to those that would really like to learn from you and just know your secrets. Tell us your secrets.
Okay, you got it. So the way I started my practice was, I would say, a non-traditional method. Usually, you look for a practice to purchase and you kind of get in and there's a influx of patients there already. We decided to do it, by we, I mean me and my wife, Dr. Elisa Mello. We decided to do it a little differently. I think we wanted to build a practice the way we wanted to build it, see the type of patients we wanted to see. So we had this grand idea, let's just start off from scratch, with no patients. And that's what we did. And I think it has its advantages and a huge level of disadvantages. You have basically no income initially because
you're very normal.
Yeah, your first patients are your family members and they expect to pay nothing. So that's basically how we started. And it's always, we were working for another dentist for a while and trying to learn our skills. And I think we put a couple of years into that and we were able to do whatever we wanted. So we kind of developed our skills. And I think that's so important when you first get out, have an ability to hone in your skills without any repercussions of, trying to do business, trying to do this, trying to do that. Just really get your skills up because you don't have that when you come out of the dental school. So we did that. And then we started our practice basically on a Saturday while we were working 5 days a week for someone else. It was like a Saturday practice. And we thought it was so innovative, you can come in on a Saturday. So we worked Monday to Friday and then had a Saturday practice. It was definitely a tough go at it. But we slowly developed it. The fact that we were dual income really helped a lot. So we were able to support each other as we slowly developed this over the years to a point that, we are now comfortable with patients coming in. We don't have to so that's how we got started. And I don't recommend it for everyone. We also practice at a very tiny office. It's 700 square feet. It's space is a premium in Manhattan. So being able to work in a small environment is always helpful. The reason I say that is because, you can go into a 3,000, 5,000 square foot office and have all the space in the world to really do whatever you want. But to me, it creates bad habits, creates a sense of clutter. You start to not see your environment as a way to control it in a way that you're not burdened by so much stuff here and there and not knowing where things are. If you can work in a very tight environment, tight space, it really sets you apart, and it helps you with organizational skills. And I think when you expand and get bigger, which we are in the process of doing now, you have those organizational skills honed in, and you can utilize space very well, better than anyone else could. So
awesome.
That's how we started out. Yeah.
So if you were to go back, what would you do differently in your job?
What would I do differently? Not sure. I mean, that's a good question. I think I would want to have probably a small practice that we could know that there is some income coming in and try to develop it from there. Maybe that would have helped. But honestly, I think, we did it the right way according to us. So I don't feel like, I'm not a very nostalgic person. I don't look back and think, what should I have done differently? I'm always a forward thinker. So yeah, no, I don't really see anything that I would have done differently. I'm happy how I did it. So
that's a wonderful ability to be able to say that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, everything you do has its struggles, but if you look back and say, "Oh, I would have done this differently. I would have done that," you're just gonna
discourage yourself
from moving forward. You're gonna should yourself to death.
Right. So, an interesting point that you made was the size of the office that you started with. And I know personally now you're still relatively in a smaller office compared to many in the United States.
Yes.
Do you believe that the size of the office matters when you're starting out, when you're in the middle of your career, at any point? How does this affect your business overall?
Yeah, good question. I mean, size of the office definitely mattered to us. Whether someone else who's working in different part of the country will feel that it is probably not for me to say, but for us, size of an office was critical because we couldn't afford a bigger size. That's what we could only do in a we didn't have the money to really have a bigger office, and it was just everything's so expensive. But I think if you're starting out, try to practice as concentrated as possible in a more controlled, small environment, because it really helps you be a better dentist. I feel like when you have a really large office, you have all these areas where you can hide. When you have a small office, you can't hide from patients. You can't try to avoid certain situations. You need to interact with people. It teaches you to be more interactive with your team members, teaches you to be more interactive with your patients. And I feel like in a large office, I would probably initially, as a student, just graduated and started my practice, I would get lost. Oh my God, that crazy patient's here. I got to go in there and hide myself. And you can't do that. You really have no ability to do that. So, so in
a way, it was a blessing for you to have a smaller office and develop those communication skills and see the patient, I guess, as a person rather than just another number coming in through the door. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, especially when you're starting out in any field, is to hone in on your why, right? And know how you're helping, what you're actually doing. And then from there, like you said, that's developing your skills, not just in dentistry, but in treating human beings. So
Right.
it's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think that, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
No,
you go ahead.
I think it's one of the more important things that I've learned, and I've been around the block a few years now. It's your desire to serve people rather than your desire to compete with others.
Yes.
Is what's going to set success for you. Being competitive can be very, very tiring. You're constantly using others as your own barometer. And I'm not saying that I'm so perfect that I don't do that. And I did that. And I was always comparing myself to this person, to that person. And it's to what end? Right. There's always someone better than you. There's always someone doing much better, selling a lot more dentistry, making a lot more money, but where is your gratification and where is your purpose in life? And I think when you have a sense of purpose, and the sense of purpose is really to serve people and know that what you're doing is impactful, is making a change in someone's life, that to me is a bigger driving force than trying to be competitive with everyone else in this world. And I stopped doing that years ago. I thought that was an important point to say.
Hello, I'm just taking a quick break from this podcast interview to tell you how you can get started with DSD. If there was anything that our guest has mentioned that strikes a chord with you, or you are curious about becoming a DSD clinic, I encourage you to book a call with me. This is a 30-minute, no-obligation information sharing session in which I can answer your questions about DSD and discuss your options based on your unique circumstances. The link to schedule a call with me can be found in the notes on this episode. Now, back to the interview. So you would say when you started out, that's really where your mind was. And at what point did you figure out, I've got to change this mindset. I've got to, think a little differently. Did it coincide with your success?
The competitive nature that I always had probably was of benefit to me because I wanted to do better. But I thought it was a little bit hindering me because I was starting to compare myself to many people. And it wasn't serving me. I was just getting frustrated all the time, to a point like this is unhealthy. This is not a way to really practice. So now to a point that my competitive nature, let's put it on the when I run. Let's do it. Let's compete in a different way. Let's not compete in your life. That's when you're in your deathbed, you're not going to say that I worked so hard. You're going to talk about the memories that you cherished and you held on. So I try to keep the competition. I hope I'm not rambling, but I try to keep the competition for my running. I love running. That's something that brings tension levels down, and it's something that even at the end of a busy day and tired day, I try to get myself to do running. So that's my competition with myself.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I follow a lot of these athletes and things and social media and all, and there's a consistent message, I think, with any successful person is that the one thing we talk about at the end of the day isn't the struggles that we've endured to get to that accomplishment. It's the accomplishment itself, right? Is like, like you mentioned on your deathbed, what are you going to mention? It's not going to be, oh my gosh, I struggled this day at this hour and this minute, and this is what happened to me. This is what I did. This is what I contributed to the world, right? And so I agree with you completely how important that is to focus on, at the end of it all, what is this for, right? And why are we here? And it gets you through a lot, not just your work day, but in life, right? And so I think that's a great
totally. And I think one thing to add to that is that almost 90% of things that we worry about never really happen. So we tend to worry about things on a daily basis. But if you did this exercise where you recorded everything that you worried about, right? Come back 6 months later, a year later, write those days that you worried about this, worried about that. Look at it again in a few months, things that you worried about, and you realize it disappeared. It wasn't even anything to worry about. Most things that you're concerned about and you worry about so much usually never come to fruition. You know, you worry about, how am I going to live in this downturn economy? How am I going to make it? You know, you retool yourself and you do things a little differently.
And that's human nature, right? So for those doctors out there that constantly struggle with this between making decisions of, you know, what's the right move to make, what would your advice be to them when they're feeling, you know, the economy is hurting us, I don't have enough patients, my team is missing, you know, I can't keep good staff, any of their problems that they're going through, and they have to make a decision to change this into a solution, right? What would you say to them?
Well, one thing is the way we started our practice, it was a completely different environment than it is now. The amount of debt that kids are coming out with is astronomical. I mean, $500,000 debt to be a dentist now is truly astounding. And to know that in the back of your mind, you have that to deal with, and trying to start a practice is very daunting. I think for some people, it forces you to do unsavory things and do things that are probably when you're comfortable financially, would not even think about that. So you got to make things work. It's very challenging. I mean, we've had lots of difficult times where, you know, money wasn't coming in, you know, especially at the beginning. So you just have to persevere, have a really tough skin, and be very frugal initially. Don't waste it on things that really are not serving you economically. Just be very critical of everything that you're bringing to your office. I'm talking about technology, or, you know, sometimes, like initially when we started out, we realized marketing is important. And I thought one method of marketing is, let me bring technology. I'm going to sell them with my technology. They're going to see me, you know, high tech and blah, blah, blah. So my whole idea of bringing technology at the beginning was to like impress people. But now, like, I'm thinking of, I'm not going to bring any type of technology until I know it serves people. It really will improve my dentistry. Not will it impress a patient that I have this highest tech, you know, like I see it all the time, and people like, and I did it all the time. We used to have, like, in our website, I mean, I think we still do, we got to fix it, but like how much technology that we have, like, oh, this is all the technology we have, you know? So
make smart investments.
Yeah. Be critical of the money going in and going out. You know, don't waste it, because it's easy to do. You know, it's easy to be sold at these meetings you go to, in the sales tactics to get you to agree on something and buy it. Oh, it's blah blah blah. You got to be very careful. That's my
absolutely message. How did you make these decisions though? Because, you know, it's easier said than done, right? It's right. Like, make a smart investment, but what is the criteria that you look for when you're making these business decisions, and what you've actually done from the past? Because I know there's more to your story. You haven't shared, you know, where you're from and how you got to New York City and all that. If you could share that, you know, in your answer, but just kind of pinpoint exactly how you make these decisions going forward. You know, when you're stuck in that position of, I don't have enough funds, I can only do one thing for my office right now, and I have to make sure it's the best choice, right? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing I have is that I'm not terrible with finances. So I'm not the person to even, excuse me, discuss finances with. So my wife is the one that handles that situation. So whenever I want to make a rash decision of a purchase of an equipment, we have this dialogue. Does this make sense now? How is it benefiting us? Does it financially make sense for us to make this move? Maybe we should wait a few months. So the ability to bounce back and forth between me and Dr. Mello is key, because having another person that you don't have to rely on all the decisions is really critical. Sometimes as a solo practitioner, I don't even know how I could survive as a solo practitioner, because you need to bounce ideas back and forth, and you're by yourself in making decisions. Sometimes is very challenging.
Awesome. So would you say the support system that you've had is really the key?
Yeah, totally. And I think having a good support system helps. If you're a solo dentist, find a really good friend as a dentist who you can talk to. You can share the worst parts of your day with, right, not feel like, we got to have no one to talk to. You really can't internalize everything. We tend to do that. But if you can't talk to anyone about your rough day, and it can really, to me, as a solo practitioner, if I was just by myself, would be very challenging. And I would always say that I couldn't do this all by myself. You definitely need another person in your life that you can bounce ideas off, bounce terrible days that you had, and really sometimes talking about it really brings down the level frustration for you. So
right. And if you don't have, I guess, a significant other or even a big family that you can go to at the end of the day, I think for those that maybe don't have the access to that kind of support system, reaching out into your community, right? There's other dentists that are dealing with the same things. Did you ever get into any of those? And how do you feel about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have a couple of really good friends in dentistry that I have no problem telling him about anything that happened in my life or in practice or patient. And that really helps, to bounce ideas even off dentists, and having a mentor really, I think, is key right now, more than ever, because you need good people around you. And I think it's much more difficult now because of the internet, because of the social media, because of all of this stuff that you see. Sometimes you get so overwhelmed by it and don't realize that, it's really, that's just fake stuff. The really important thing is having connections with human beings. And I think that's really lacking, to have a strong bond connection with people. Mm-hmm. It's so key. So you get depressed, you start to look at your social media feed, and then you start to get more depressed. You're like, oh shit, this people doing, it's bad. It's terrible. And I feel for kids coming out, it's just totally comparing themselves because this is so strong. And I didn't have that when we were practicing, so we weren't so distracted.
Okay.
Kids are now.
So tell me a little more about your journey over to the States, where you're originally from, how you came about, because I know your wife has a big role in the decision to come over and build a practice over here. How exactly did that go down, and what was in your mind at the time? Your fears, your worries, how did you overcome them?
You mean building our practice here?
Correct, in New York.
Where I am originally from?
Yes. So how did you get there, basically? How did you get here in New York City, in a very nice area? Tell us about it.
So I'm from Iran. I came to this country when I was 14. Really at a difficult time that we left. It was the Iranian Revolution, and old enough that some people would probably know what that is. Um, I'm Jewish, and leaving the country was sort of imperative. So we did leave, and we came to we had some family here, so we came here and then went to school here. And my wife and I, we did not even know each other till after dental school. We both graduated the same year, but she went to NYU and I went to Columbia. And then we met each other basically applying for a job. And both of us were in the waiting room at the same time applying for the same job. It was quite interesting.
Who got it? We want to know who won.
Well, we both did, which was interesting. We both got the job. It was for a big practice, and, they liked both of us. And so that's how we met, and that's how we sort of hit it off. We were just friends, and then it just developed from there, and we decided,
the
business, opening up our own practice. And it was, like I said, it was just on a one-day basis, and then we sort of grew from there.
Awesome.
And slowly left that practice one at a time. First she left, then I left, and then we struggled a lot.
Got it. So you both started out as associates in the States and then saved up enough to then go on your own. Amazing. Okay. So that's a pretty normal direction, I would say, for coming over. A very similar story for most, I would say. So other than that, let's talk about where you are now, how everything's running for you, and what you feel are the best tools that have helped you the most today.
Ooh. My best tools, what do you mean? What helped me in our level of success, basically, or?
Yeah, today, if you go into your practice and you say to yourself, I can't work without these things in place, what are they?
Well, I wouldn't call them things. I would just call them ability to like having things that are really important that are that's not negotiable for us. Is we have to have a daily huddle every day. We need to know what exactly is happening throughout the day. We learned that the hard way. Not having a daily huddle can make a huge difference. A couple of things that I'm really a stickler about is I hate clutter. I hate messiness. That's like a totally non-negotiable.
That's a dentist thing. That's just a dentist thing.
Is it a dentist thing?
I think so.
Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, when you come to our office, which is, like I said, very tiny and small, you would never know anything is out of place. And it can easily get there, very easily get there. Always have to be upbeat. And I think that, to me, is so important. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're down. You can change your state. You can change how you feel. Go in your room, go shut the door and start jumping up and down and screaming a little bit in your whatever, if you can. You can change your state. The way you start out is the way you'll end the day. So if you can change that state, and I think that's something I learned from Tony Robbins, you can change your state by how you act. If you act in a certain way, you can definitely change that. So those are, I think, and also Friday dance, that's very important.
Absolutely. We've got to talk about the Friday dance. Where
dance.
Does that come from?
Well, my social media, it sort of grew out of my need to be a comedian all the time and having fun. I used to make, I haven't done so much now, but I made a lot of these videos that are just humorous, with patients even, like on just like an idea came in my head, let's do this. And I kind of prepped the patient and I had my assistant start filming it. So then I started like doing the dance. And then it became like a Friday dance. So every Friday I have to have a dance put up. So, it's silly, but, sometimes you just have to be humble and don't fear how you're presenting yourself. Be yourself. And I think the less you try to be yourself, be someone else. And that's when people are not stupid. They know when you're acting and when you're not yourself. So the easier it is for you to hone in on your inner strengths and use that to your advantage. We call it weakness maybe, but it's not. To me, it's like being goofy is not a weakness. It relaxes patients,
Mobility.
Totally. And I think it's like a new patient comes in, and I can tell they're nervous. And I would say something like, well, you look like you're so excited to see me. It just starts a conversation. It puts a quick smile on their face, So
Well, it holds true to what you just said of, setting the tone, setting the attitude of the office. That's essentially what you do with those dances. And, it's so contagious, and anybody that follows you knows you're a dancer. It's impossible not to see that. And you have such a special brand and image out there. Going back a little bit, talking about your support system, was there a moment where maybe, and this is hypothetical example, but if your support system were to tell you, Dr. Tabib, don't dance like that. That's not professional. That's not what the people want. How do you react to that when it goes against your inner strength, right? Who you are as a person? How do you know when it's the right time to say, you know what, everybody's telling me not to, but I know this is the right thing to do?
I think initially when I started to do all the goofy things that I do, it was embarrassing all our team members so much that they would cringe. And sometimes they would walk away and it's like, what's he doing now? I mean, to a point that now it's just expected, like they don't even bat an eye when I come in and wear a wig to see a patient the first time, or do something like celebrate at the end of the treatment with a sparkler in my hand and a champagne glass, So now it's reached a point that the excitement level of doing something differently is actually a good feeling for everyone. So I was like, oh, I'm going to come in and do this. Blah, blah, blah. Everyone gets so excited. Okay, I'll do the filming, So everyone starts to buy into it when you're real. When you are not real and when you're just forcing everything on people and they know it, and there's like, oh God, he's coming in again with this, they just know it's me because that's how I am. I'm always goofing off, and having a good sense of humor about everything really helps you with getting through the day, because, if you can't see the funny side of certain things, you're going to be distressed. If you can see the funny side of everything that goes on, because everything is funny. Think about all the comedians. Why are they so successful? They're just telling the truth. And that truth is hilarious. If we can realize how funny truth is, our lives are, then you can really be relaxed with yourself, because nothing we do is just, is serious. Everything we do is weird. And, if there was a fly watching us throughout the day and recording that moment, and somebody else watching, they would be cracking up with the things that comes out of your mouth, so just enjoy that moment to be yourself, be free. And,
Absolutely. I love that. I think it shows greatly, this is your form of leadership, right? And I get so many questions working with a lot of dentists of, how do I become a better leader for my team? How do I get my team to a certain level that I need them to be, right? And it all comes down to leadership at the end of the day. And so I love your approach in bringing laughter into the office, because imagine a world of laughter, right? And we find peace in our suffering in that way, right? And it's a wonderful thing to picture. So I think that's a great advice from you to say, you know what, if you want to be a better leader, if you want to have a better team, you find the way to keep laughter alive in the office.
Totally. I think laughter is so key in life. I mean, it just, if there was a barometer that can actually measure stress levels, you could see how that stress level numerically would change when somebody has a comedy or somebody says something funny. I one day will create that device, but I think there is no substitute for good humor. And I can get overboard, and I sometimes have to be told that, simmer down. But but comes from, to be a good leader, it comes from having respect, and having respect for people who you bring in as team members. If you can't respect people that you have as team members, and I mean deep respect, everyone has their own story. They know you're faking it. Really respect people's positions in life and where they came from. You can be a good leader when you really can have that ability, and use humor to your advantage. And if you're not funny, just learn how to say a couple of jokes here and there. Everyone has humor. Everyone has humor.
Well, they say there's truth behind humor, right? So
exactly,
your truth and humor will come.
We all enjoy humor. I don't know anyone who doesn't like humor. And just know that you have that ability to influence people with your humor. People kind of respect you differently when you're not taking things seriously so much. Take your work seriously. Take what you do for a patient seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously. We're just all different beings in this world, and nobody's better, nobody's worse. We're all the same, really. And it's just respecting each other. How you don't know anyone's background, basically. You make assumptions, we make judgments very easily, but we don't know what people came from, what circumstances they left to be where they are now. So just go with that feeling that everyone has a story, and it's not for you to judge whether it's a story that's good or bad. It's not your position. You just have to respect it. That's all.
Absolutely. Definitely. Thank you. So we're getting towards the end of time. I want to...
No.
I know, it goes so fast, right?
Warm it up.
Is there anything you want to share specifically with listeners, or one thing that you really want to make sure people know about regarding you, your practice, dentistry, anything? What is your one message that you'd like the audience to know?
I don't know. I mean, I would say I love carving temporaries. That's probably the weirdest thing ever to say. I enjoy when you're working on a patient for a stressful time. I like sitting in the lab and carve that temporary perfectly. Like, to me, that's
from the blob technique.
Or from a wax up, but then you still have to carve it in a way. That's changes to make, to make it sit I like my temporaries to feel like permanent. That's how crazy I get with it. So I really I find that whole time of sitting in the lab and carving it, it's like my relaxation time. And I say one other thing, always think about one of the successes you had with a patient and imprint that in your head. Because you start to think about all the bad things, and it could be one negative thing that you worry about. But that one success, have that in your brain. Like for me, it's Sarah. I know when Sarah came to see us, she was petrified of dentistry. She had work done here, a little work done there. And I know it was like a last hope when she came to see us. And she really needed to be convinced that this is not the way you run dentistry. And so that is always in my head as far as in here. Sorry, I got interrupted. So having that person that's a successful, that you had a amazing success with imprinted in your head, know that whenever there's bad, you can think of your Sarahs, and this didn't go well, but you know what? This is 1 out of 100. We tend to worry about that 1 out of 100, and it just ruins our day. And I've learned to accept that there will be people that I can't help. There will be people that will not like me. Don't take it personal. We worry about getting bad reviews, and oh my God, if this person didn't like me, blah, blah, blah. It never happens. And even if it does happen, so what? You get a bad review, respond to it nicely. And to me, your responses to bad reviews are just as critical. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about things that will never occur. Like I said, but 80 to 90% of the things that you worry about never happen. Right. And just think about the successes and just go with that. I've had successes. I know what I'm doing. This is not a normal day. This is an aberration in my day. It's going really bad. It's going really shitty, but this is not normal. We are, as dentists, we are transformative people. We have transformed people in so many ways that it's so gratifying to know that this is what you can provide to someone. To change somebody's life is so gratifying. But we lose sight of that when we have a bad day. It's like, oh, God, I can't practice this anymore. This is awful. I can't take it anymore. Blah, blah. These patients complaining. Yeah, you know what? There's no business that doesn't have its headaches. So this is the headache. Just know that it's not always the same. And there are more better days that are than bad days. And we tend to think about that bad day.
Yeah.
And you expand it in your head. It just gets so overblown.
Right.
I had terrible patients. I don't care anymore when I do. I just have to deal with it. That's all it is. It's not me. I'm not taking it personal.
Absolutely. I think a great way to look at it in our dental analogy sense is, think of it like that one little dot of that occlusion that's off, right? It feels like a mountain. It feels like everything's completely off, but look at the big picture, right? Everything's great, but that little piece, and just little grinding away a little bit at a time, we'll remove it over time, right?
Exactly.
So
is in life are big.
Exactly. And the focus is the main message here, I think, is, focus on the good, leave the bad at the door, keep moving forward, keep trucking forward as you've shown over your years of experience in dentistry. And you obviously have a lot to show for it now. So it's remarkable what you've done. And I wish I could get more into, the branding and the image of your office. You're in such a great area. You see celebrities, you've got the juice that everybody wants to be drinking from. And so I wish we could get into it more. But I know you're welcoming to share more information. How can people get in touch with you if they do want to, talk to you individually, learn more about your practice and reach out to you after this?
I have a big presence on social media. So Instagram would be a great way to, if somebody wants to get in touch with me directly, to DM me on it at NYC Smile Design. Um, our office is right on 84th Street between 5th and Madison, right next to Metropolitan Museum. The location can be better, but we are moving to a bigger space, which is still in Manhattan, just a few blocks up. So yeah, I'm glad to talk to anyone about what I've done. I don't see myself as, someone who can't be reached, or I see celebrities. And honestly, I don't see that many celebrities. I see here and there, but to me, it's teeth. Smile. Like, don't look at it as got a celebrity. Like, no, you treat them the same way. They got, their mouths are no different than anyone else.
Right, definitely. And just to solidify what you said there of how to contact you, I don't know if you remember, Instagram is how we got reconnected and with DSD, right? Because
That's right.
I saw your handle NYC Small Design. And I'm like, if anyone is going to be DSD, it's got to be this guy. He's doing small design. It's literally in his name. And so that was what attracted me to your Instagram, was the fact that you had it as your office name. And so we obviously connected. We are here today. So
it wasn't my humor.
It was the handle first, and then you're dancing.
Yeah, no, and I thank you for doing that. I think being with DSD has been personally rewarding, business-wise rewarding. There's so many changes that have happened as a result of joining DSD. You have to sit down and really write it down, because oh, this wouldn't have happened. No, that wouldn't have happened either. Oh yeah, this too. So yeah. When you join an organization where the morals and ethics align with yours, you're going to succeed. But if you join an organization where you think you got aligned, and then you realize that it's not the best fit for me. But so far, I've had nothing but praise for the Coachman brothers, and they've set the standard as far as what dentistry should be like, not losing autonomy to a DSO. And to me, that's like a key understanding of what dentistry is like. And I think they embody it. And that's why I was so attracted to it, because I don't like to treat patients as just, a conveyor belt of patients coming in and out my door, and just everything is like, to me, is a project. Every patient that comes in is a project. A lot of times, almost every case that we are embarking on, every patient that we're embarking on, both of us need to contribute, because we both have different strengths in dentistry. And that is so key when you have different people you can rely on, and not just think about your own way of doing things. Everyone has their own way of doing things. So that's been really, really key also for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. It's been wonderful to see you from the moment we chatted on Instagram to having this podcast with you today.
Wait, this is over?
This is the end. Oh. For now, right? We'll have hopefully we'll have a series going, and you'll.
My life is so much more interesting. You probably need another 2-3 hours just to complete it.
Yes, that's the fact, for sure. Yes, I wish I had more time. There's a lot of questions I have for you, but
me too.
We can absolutely. We'll do this again, I'm sure, in the future. I want to hear all about the new expansion eventually, see how that's going for you, and hopefully we can maybe get a round 2 of this once that.
Totally. Get you guys in for the big event.
Exactly. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts at DSD for sharing your information, your story with us.
Absolutely.
Please, keep in touch as you go through your journey, and we'll do this again.
Will do. Thank you so much, Maria. It's great talking to you. See you on the dance floor.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, be sure to like and share it with your professional network. In the next episode, I talk to Dr. Carla Soto. If you subscribe to Small Business Diaries, you won't miss it.